Good afternoon. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Good. That's good. Okay, what do you know about Samson?
He was strong.
He had long hair. He was strong. Yeah. Pardon? Greek? I think there might have been Greek Samson. The one that I'm speaking about probably wasn't. He was a Jew. He was way back in the Old Testament time, and his parents were very shocked to find that she was pregnant and be given us a son. And God said to them, Samson will be the deliverer from the Philistines. And Samson led a bit of a colourful life, and his strength was in his hair. But I wonder, when you think of Samson, whether you think of him as an Arnold Schwarzenegger, big, strong, muscular bloke, or whether he was just an ordinary man who was gifted by God to be strong. And he upset the Philistines a few times, and previous to him meeting Delilah, he was supposed to get married, but he didn't turn up for the wedding, and his prospective wife's husband gave him to the best man. And so he went to see his wife, they kicked him out, and he got angry, so he tied 3 foxes' tails together and sent them through a field with their tails on fire, and burnt up all the corn for the Philistines. So he's a bit of a fly-by-night, as it were. But God used him, even though he was a bit of a Jack the Lad in a way. And he went down to a place called Sorek, I think it was called Sorek, and there he fell in love with a lady called Delilah. And I think it was a bit one-sided, that he loved her, but I don't think she loved him. And the Philistines had tried a number of occasions to try and capture Samson, but they'd failed. And so they went to Delilah and they said, if you can find the reason why he's so strong, we'll give you 1,100 shekels each. Now, I don't know how many leaders the Philistines were, but if there was 5 of them, that's 55 shekels they'd be getting, and it would be an awful lot of money for them. 1,100 shekels they would give her. But when you found that Joseph was sold for 20 shekels, or 20 pieces of silver as it were, that's an awful lot of slaves they were willing to pay to get Samson to lose his strength, as it were. So one evening maybe, Delilah says, why are you so strong? How is it that people will be able to succumb you and you'll just become like an ordinary man? And he said, well, if you get 7 threshed fronds that have not been dried, I'll become as weak as any other man. So she said to the Philistines, you come and hide in the room, you bring me the 1,100 shekels each, and the 7 threshed thongs that haven't been dried. I'll tie him up, and then I'll shout, the Philistines are on you, and you can come and capture him. So she tied, and I don't want to go into why she tied him up and all that kind of stuff, you know, what happened there. And but she did. And then she shouted, Samson, the Philistines are on you. And he snapped the thongs as easy as a piece of string. You've made a fool out of me, Delilah says. What's the real reason for your strength? So he said, if you, and my pages are stuck together, if you tie me securely with new ropes, I'll become as weak as any other man. So again, Delilah said to these Philistine leaders, if you come into the room, hide again, bring me the ropes, I'll tie him up, I'll shout the Philistines are on you, can come and capture him. So that's what they did. He went to sleep. I don't know whether he went to sleep or whether she was just tying him up for a bit of fun, I don't know. But then she said, Samson, the Philistines are on you. And he snapped the ropes as easy as a thread. Now, what do you want to say about Samson? He was a man that God was going to use to deliver the Israelites from the Philistines. And yet he was playing this game with this lady that he loved, but she didn't love him. And you would think, Samson, wake up, can't you see what's happening? But whether he thought it was a game, whether he thought it was just fun, that he was showing his strength all the time. But she said, you tell me that you love me, and you don't do all this kind of thing, you know. But he said, well, no, if you get a loom and weigh the 5 brands of my hair, I think it was 5, my hair in a loom, with tighten it with a pin. So while he was sleeping, she did this. Philistines again. Samson, the Philistines are on you. And so he pulled up the loom, and just thrashed the Philistines again. And so she said, how can you love me? You notice she didn't say, I love you. How can you say you love me? That's 3 times you've now told me how your strength is, but it hasn't worked every time. But you know, the Bible says that she nagged him, I think it says she nagged him to death, near enough. With such nagging, she prodded him day after day until he was tired to death. And I suppose, really, if you keep doing that, you think, Samson, wake up. Samson, aren't you thinking what's happening here? And so, with all this persistent nagging and going on, he said, look, I've been chosen by God from my birth, and I'm not allowed to have my hair cut. If my hair's cut, then I lose all my strength. And you would think that Samson had forgot about God, forgot about what God wanted to do in him and through him. And so she got a message to the Philistines again and said, look, you bring the silver. He's really told me this time. He's opened his heart to me, and I found a reason where his strength is. Now, the Bible says that she put him to sleep on her lap. Now, whether she coaxed him or drugged him or whatever it was, because I'm sure if I was asleep and somebody was cutting my hair, I'd know about it. Well, I don't know whether that's true, because I was on holiday once as a young person, and we were at young person's away weekend, and we were sleeping in bunks, and it was that hot. I only had pyjama trousers on and nothing on at the top. And I woke up in the morning and somebody had drawn felt tip all over my back. And I never woke up. But I mean, having your hair cut, I mean, you'd know that, wouldn't you, surely? But anyway, she cut his hair off and she said, Samson, the Philistines are on you. And he thought, I'd just get up like I did before, but he couldn't. And they captured him and they gouged his eyes out. And they took him to their palace. And there it says, then the Philistines seized him, gouged out his eyes, and took him down to Gaza. Binding him with bronze shackles, they set him to grinding in the prison. But the hair on his head began to grow again after it had been shaved. What lessons can we learn from this story of Samson and Delilah? Samson knew that he was chosen by God. He knew he was chosen to deliver the Israelites from the Philistines. But somehow along the line he lost track. His eyes were diverted to a woman that he loved but didn't love him. And he went down that slippery slope and succumbed to her, and her love of money was what won her through, but his love of her cost him being captured by the Philistines. And you know, sometimes in our life there are those things that we can pursue. We're thinking it's a game and we think it's not too bad, but we start on that slope going down and down and down. But God doesn't forget us. God still loves us. God still cares for us. Even though sometimes we're probably not thinking about him, we're doing our own thing. But God never forgets who we are, where we are, and wants us to come back to him. And what happened in the story we don't know what happened to Delilah after that. She probably went and spent all her money on whatever it was, we don't know. But this is the thing with the Bible. It tells you certain things, but it doesn't kind of do the end story. But Samson, he was taken to the palace where they all were, and where it says, they said they were in high spirits. Bring out Samson to entertain us. So they called Samson into the prison, and he performed for them. I don't know how he performed, showing certain strength. But you would have thought the Philistines would have thought, hang on, his hair's growing back again, we've got to be careful here. But his hair grew back. And he said to the lad who was with him, show me where the pillars are. And he went and he leant on the pillars, and he put his left hand on the left pillar and the right hand on the other pillar, and he prayed. And he said, oh God, please strengthen me just one more, and let me with one blow get revenge on the Philistines for my 2 eyes. Then Samson reached forward the two central pillars and stood bracing himself against them. And Samson said, "Let me die with the Philistines." Then he pushed with all his might, and down came the temple and the rulers, all the people in it. Thus he killed many more when he died. And they think there was about 3,000 people there that died, and then his family came and took him away. And so Samson, even though he'd forgotten about God, even though he'd forgotten his purpose, when it came to the end, he realised that he needed God to give him the strength to get through what he needed to do. And that's the same for us. We may have made mistakes, got things wrong, but we can ask God to give us the strength and the help to get through. The story of Samson is about strength, heroism, self-destruction, and a romantic betrayal. Samson became spiritually blind to what God wanted to do, but he was also physically blind. And through his failures and highs and lows, God brought about his purpose. Maybe we're in a situation we are so besotted with it that we do not see the dangers of it, but God doesn't give up on us. Satan might tell us that we're failure because we've done it so many times, but God does not. He will take us from where we are with our faults and our failures and use us to his blessing. One final thought: Samson lost his life bringing about God's purpose for the Israelites. In the New Testament we're told about losing our life. And that doesn't mean to say dying. What it means is that we're giving our life to God and to Jesus to come and live in us. So the lessons from Samson is God has got a purpose and a plan for our lives. And through our faults and our failings, God will still bring about his purpose in the end. Thank you.